Boom. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's time for your weekly dose of sealed Pokemon TCG news. And that means it's time for midweek market update. We're going to start off here with some housekeeping. Would love your subscription, would love a comment. Any feedback is always appreciated. If you ever have any questions or anything like that, anything I can help you with, please reach out to me at PokeMarketLab@gmail.com. And also check out Sleeved TCG, link in the description below if you want a fantastic Discord, really excellent conversation about this hobby, both the collecting, investing side, as well as in-stock notifications. Check out Sleeved TCG, try to get some product at MSRP. Let's talk about Mega Evolution. We had Pokemon Present yesterday, and we got some pretty good information here about the set. Nothing earth-shattering in terms of the set, just some card previews here that are looking really good. This hype train that we're on is going to absolutely continue. This is an excellent start from what I see. I think I'm comfortable saying this is a very, unless this is all we're getting from the set in terms of heat, which I don't think is the case. This is the card previews we've been getting are really just, this is going to be a hard pivot from Scarlet and Violet, meaning this is not your typical softball kind of release, a Scarlet and Violet base, a Sword and Shield base, where, those typically haven't been these heavy hitters. This is a heavy hitter set. This is going to steal the show from Black Bolt Whiteflare when this comes out. This is going to potentially steal the show from Scarlet and Violet, which could be a good thing. We've talked about that. Could allow some reprint time here on some stuff from Scarlet and Violet. But this is, man, it makes me concerned about what booster boxes are going to do as we get closer to release here. So let's start off with what we see on the screen here. We got Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, and Mega Venusaur. We saw that Bulbasaur previously. We actually have a kind of an evolutions here, an evolution sequence through these cards, these three cards with their artwork lining up. That Bulbasaur, fantastic. Ivysaur is great. The Mega Venusaur looks a little weird to me, just the positioning and the eyes, but this is just really cool. I love the artwork here. So again, we're seeing them kind of take some risks on the artwork side of things. We're going to go over and look at a couple other cards. But again, Mega Evolutions is looking some of the cards look nostalgic to me. I don't think we're going to see necessarily a consistent art theme throughout, but we're seeing some risks, which is good. It's kind of like what we saw at Prismatic, where we saw some risk taking on the artwork side of things, which brings us to both the Mega Gardevoir and Mega Kangaskhan. That Gardevoir is absolutely, without a doubt, no question, the best Gardevoir artwork out there for me. Subjectivity, right? This is my personal opinion, but I'm not a huge fan of Gardevoir. That's a beautiful card. I can see my daughters wanting that card. Just fantastic. Again, a great preview here. Mega Kangaskhan looks good as well. And this is, again, in addition to what we saw previously, which we saw that Mega Lucario fighting Venusaur, which is just, again, this screams comic book to me. This screams just nostalgic, in your face, battling Pokemon in the way that they were meant to be shown. It brings me right back to like the XY era. So this is really, again, just fantastic heat here. Loving what we're seeing. Really looking forward to seeing more. But this is just kind of solidifying to me that this is going to be just a hard pivot, not a soft pivot. Not like we saw with Sword and Shield going into Scarlet and Violet. It's different in the fact that this is a small block, right, where we get ready for that hard transition to the next era. But this is not that situation where with Sword and Shield we pivot to Scarlet and Violet, but no one really pays attention because everyone's so focused on Sword and Shield. This is going to steal the show. It's going to steal the thunder, I think. That's my opinion on this. And the fact that it's releasing in the fall like that, when things kind of like start heating up again as we approach the holiday season, people are back from the summer. I think this is going to, again, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the market with this. All right, so let's look at some card values on Whiteflare and Black Bolt just to see where these sets are right now, and they're expensive. We have some excellent chase cards, Victini and Reshiram Hero from Whiteflare, along with Reshiram EX as well as the Hydreigon here, really holding up some significant value, $3,000 in value on one of these sets. That's just one of these sets. This is from Pokedata.io. Excellent site to be able to look through card data here and kind of get some concise information. That Victini is beautiful. I'm seeing some of the pictures of people on Reddit, Facebook, and their polls, and they're just gorgeous cards. They really are. And it's not just those cards. I mean, there's plenty of value here, and this will drop. This will absolutely drop. But the question for for it to drop is that we need more product hitting the market. We need more people ripping. And again, I don't know that it was necessarily. I don't know that the thought that this was necessarily short printed that Poker Beach had talked about months ago. I don't know that I necessarily believe that. I think it's a harder snag in the wild, certainly compared to Journey Together, but even compared to Destined Rivals, it seems to be a little bit more difficult to get product in the wild on release. We will get more product in the future, but the demand here is pretty hot. I'm certainly feeling the FOMO on my end, just not being able to get any product that I want to rip. I have Pokemon Center ETBs. I do not want to rip those. So it's certainly more difficult on my side. I'm not willing to bounce around from 4 or 5 different targets on a Saturday though. So keep that in mind. But yeah, card value is holding up extremely well. We will see these drop, but this is a lot of value. And let's look at Black Bolt here, right about $3,000 for this as well. So both Zekrams at the top, just gorgeous cards. Even that non-monochromatic there, number 166, is a beautiful, beautiful looking card. To me, I think in terms of which set edges out the other for me, I think Black Bolt for me. I think Whiteflare is excellent, but I do like that Zekrom. I also like that Seismitoad. I think that's gorgeous. I'm going to wait and see if the price comes down a little bit on that. I think that is a nice, affordable pickup for me. I think that would look beautiful in the collection. There's just a lot to love here. So set value, yes, set value is doing extremely well. Let's take a look at booster at boxes now. All right, so Black Bolt, Whiteflare, Pokemon Center ETBs. We're just going to look at Black Bolt here. They're really performing pretty close to the same. This is to be expected here. This price, we're actually seeing less than I would have thought on the market. The sell rate on release day was about the same if you add up both Black Bolt and Whiteflare on the Pokemon Center ETBs compared to Destined Rivals. So the question everyone's asking is obviously we did not get a drop of these on release day. Which probably means they're probably with the printers. They're probably waiting for more to come to market. I would expect we would see more of these get dropped in the future, probably a pretty significant drop. So if you're willing to use something like Sleeved, a service where you're going to get, in-stock notification alerts to get early in the queue and snag product. And I think, what we've seen on Prismatic multiple times, Destined Rivals, is that the opportunity is going to be there, not just for a few minutes, but potentially hours. So if that's an option for you, maybe hold out. If you're obviously not willing to take that risk, you want to get product now, this is as cheap as it's going to get. If you want this as a collector's item, it's not going to get cheaper than this. I can almost guarantee that. So keep that in mind. If you're not willing to wait and chase and try to get it from the Pokemon Center, this is probably as good an opportunity as you're ever going to get. All right, regular Black Bolt Whiteflare ETBs. I think the story here is this is settled into that $80 to $90 price point that we saw with Journey Together ETBs, Destined Rivals ETBs. Yes, those are primary sets, but I think the market is kind of settled around outside of Prismatic being willing to pay this price to a point. This doesn't leave a ton of margin for bots or scalpers or resellers or anything like that. It doesn't even really leave a lot for arbitrage opportunities from like Target and Walmart to come back on a TCG player. Once you calculate fees and shipping and everything there, you're not left with a lot of margin. Those people are still probably, on Facebook Marketplace trying to move product, but at that price, you're not going to sell these on Facebook Marketplace for $95. You're going to sell them below 90. So again, that margin isn't really there unless you get the volume to be able to do it, right? So it's in a weird spot, and it's in a weird spot for me because it's like, it's not. I'm glad it's below $100. I wish it would come down a little bit. And I'd be on the fence about buying this if I saw them, in the wild at this price. It probably would jump at about $80 a pop, at least to be able to have one or two to open. But I just don't know. I think we're going to see more product come to market. I think the summer slowdown will hopefully help this in terms of availability and pricing. Yes, we'll see more product, and I think again, Mega Evolution's coming probably not that far in the future. Is really going to steal the thunder from this. And again, Scarlet and Violet as a whole, I think just a thought I've had, and that could leave some opportunity here to go back and pick up some of these sets at some more reasonable prices. Not, I don't think steals, but I think the softening there, the hopefully allow Pokemon companies to go back and do some reprints in Scarlet and Violet, which is there's a lot to be reprinted at this point. All right, I want to talk about some booster boxes now. We're going to go kind of through a bunch of booster boxes in Scarlet and Violet era, starting with Scarlet and Violet base here. We saw some real slowdowns in terms of price appreciation on some of these, but early Scarlet and Violet is doing some interesting things.
Scarlet Violet base up 8%, settling at about $217 in the last month, which is actually pretty decent for this set. This is, I think, two things happening. This is FOMO and this is age. I think age is playing a big part of it here. It's not old by any stretch of the imagination, but it's early Scarlet Violet. We're seeing Scarlet Violet come to an end. This is Scarlet Violet, right? It is the name of the era that we are in. So I think this is it's not a fantastic set. It's not an A tier. It's not certainly not an S tier set for me, but it does carry the fact that it is Scarlet Violet. I think there's just not, to me, there's not enough scarcity in the market to really justify this. So I think this is the 8% that we're seeing here, a little bit of an increase in sales volume in the last 3 months versus earlier in the year. I think is probably due to, again, Scarlet Violet ending, Mega Evolutions going to steal the thunder and putting a button on, or a bow here on Scarlet and Violet. So just be careful at this price. I think if you're wanting to get some Scarlet Violet before you really get priced out, absolutely fine to buy it at this price. Just know that, again, any market turmoil or anything, we could see a regression in prices. Obsidian Flames booster boxes, same thing here that I've talked about previously, where I'm at a lockstep with, I'm having a hard time understanding why this is sitting at this price. We actually saw a little bit of a reduction in price in the last month here, which I think is fair, it's appropriate. And again, I think most of what we're seeing in Obsidian Flames is not, the buying that we're seeing is not because the set's fantastic. It's because it's older, because it's got Charizard on it. And it does have a good Charizard card. It just doesn't have much outside of the top 2 or 3 cards in this set. So again, if you're looking, I'm guessing we're just going to continue to march on in terms of price increases on early Scarlet Violet. Paldea is rapidly approaching $400 a box. And I think the fact, again, that we're closing out Scarlet and Violet is just going to push early Scarlet and Violet up. So I hate to tell you to go chase product, but we could potentially this could be an inflection point where you want to consider picking up boxes because you may be priced out in the future, even if we have a market correction coming at some point. So let's talk about some future states that we could see in the Scarlet and Violet market in the future with Mega Evolutions. I think this is important because it could be that the market shifts so hard that, I'm sorry to talk about this again in the video, but the market shifts so hard that the attention, the money, flows to Mega Evolutions, it flows to the new block. You have Mega Evolutions, but then we also have a Charizard focus set coming after that. So that is significant. That is a significant steal of attention. Maybe that means, again, the Pokemon Company can go back and reprint some Scarlet and Violet stuff. Maybe that means because that focus shifts and the supply is still out there and the demand wanes, that prices have to come down. That weight, remember, we picture this as kind of supply up top, demand below with price sandwiched in between. And as, supply inflates and demand doesn't inflate with it, it pushes pressure down on the price. That could happen. So it's really anybody's game at this point. What's going to happen with Scarlet Violet? I think older Scarlet Violet is certainly going to be seen as the safer product. It's certainly safer from reprints. It's not completely safe. I think anyone telling you that is wrong. But I think later Scarlet Violet is absolutely going to get some attention from a reprint standpoint. I think Twilight Masquerade onward is almost for sure. Maybe Paradox Rift, maybe Temporal. We'll see. Speaking of which, Paradox Rift, I think this is a product that is appropriate at its price. I love Paradox Rift along with its sister set here, Temporal Forces, doing well from a price standpoint, actually getting a little bit of appreciation in the last month. Again, these are really good, solid sets, not fantastic chase cards. That's not where these sets shine. This is where just having just cheaper, especially when they were, $150 boxes, which is absolutely great buys. Just and the card values hadn't increased at that point, and we saw some just really cheap, beautiful artwork cards. And I think Paradox Rift, I've said this before, Paradox Rift was really what changed my opinion of Scarlet and Violet. It was not Paldea Vault, it was not Obsidian Flames, it was Paradox Rift. That's when I was like, I started paying attention. I'm like, I am a buyer. All right, let's go on to Stellar Crown. I want to talk about Stellar Crown. I pick on Stellar Crown often because I'm always disagreeing with the price that it's at. Part of that is like, where is the demand for this coming from? Is this dumb money, rippers, investors? Where is this, right? So I think, what we have to do, what I encourage you to do, sometimes we have to question our opinions on things.
and question the judgment that we have of things, both in life, obviously, but certainly in this subjective hobby. So I was thinking to myself today, again, Stellar Crown really doing well from a price standpoint, up 10% on boxes in the last 3 months. Why? Where is this coming from? I'm missing something here. So I dove into the singles a little bit here just to try to paint a story and a picture for myself. And I'm like, you know what? You got Squirtle and Bulbasaur at top, which are two illustration rares, not the special illustration rare Terrapagos, right? And it's really, I think, rippers that are chasing this product. I think it's 150 people who love 151. And so looking and seeing and knowing that Terrapagos got superseded by Squirtle, by Bulbasaur, that if we look at Squirtle here on TCG Player, let's make sure we get near mint conditions, selling 7 copies a day on average. And then I took a step further and looked at some grading data on how much has been submitted to PSA and all the grading companies compared to, and again, this is, there's a lot more of these cards on the market, right? This is not an SIR. So the volume of cards that's going to be on the market is going to be fairly high, but the amount of people submitting cards for grading on this card and the amount of packs that represents in terms of being opened, I think that's a video we need to look at, is substantial. And so to me, it's like, okay, it's not just investors, it's not just dumb money. There's collectors here, there's people ripping. Maybe it's people just looking for, specking on this card or specking on graded slabs, but there's some reasoning behind it. So that, to me, just going back to the booster box price here, just it's important to question our assumptions about things sometimes. I still think this is on the expensive side for the reprint risk. We'll put it that way, because I do think it's a reprint risk. So I think it's a little expensive there, but there's only 140 boxes listed here too. So again, that kind of, in terms of, if you're looking at, kind of make a Venn diagram of pros and cons, it kind of balances things out. So just something I wanted to touch on. All right, let's look at Destined Rivals now. I'm increasingly impressed with this set from a performance standpoint. The demand on this has been absolutely fantastic. Booster boxes in the last month selling an average of 39 per day, which I would probably need to really kind of bolster that and quantify that with some additional data compared to another set, but that's really solid. That's extremely solid. Booster box quantity was well over 1,000 not long ago, listed on TCG Player. So the supply side of things is drying up pretty quickly. So I think we are probably on the precipice of this hitting $300 sometime this summer. I don't see that changing. Black Ball, Whiteflare is certainly stealing a bit of the thunder. We see a slowdown here. We see a reduction in the volume of boxes moving per day, completely normal, but it's still high. So look at this, July 22nd. Let's look back on the 18th here. So even on the release day of Black Ball Whiteflare, 30 plus of these boxes sold at what is a pretty expensive price. I mean, this is well above MSRP. It's the most expensive back half Scarlet and Violet booster box by a pretty wide margin. It's superseded, certainly superseded Surging Sparks as the best back half, booster box right now. So, and with supply waning, we're certainly, I think, again, on the precipice of this hitting $300 a box. So again, we ask ourselves as investors, do we chase this? That's an expensive box to chase. If I'm looking for future, obviously, again, if you're looking for ripping, it doesn't matter. Don't listen to me. Just buy your box and rip it. You know what you're buying at that point. If you're hoping for price appreciation in the next year, that's the question here: is do you buy at this price, knowing that supply is waning, knowing that supply coming, it will come. I think additional supply, it's just a matter of when, and it's probably not going to be any time in the near future. I think Pokemon Company's production capacity seems to be pretty focused on new sets right now. I think they're probably struggling there, which is maybe where some of the rumors came from. That Poke Beach got. We have not seen any massive drops of product. We have not seen any rumors of, Surging Sparks booster boxes or Stellar Crown booster boxes hitting the market. There's a steady stream. We're seeing plenty in terms of Prismatic. We're seeing, looks like we're getting yet another bundle from a wholesale club with Prismatic, which is great. I love to see the product, but we're really not seeing much in the way of other reprints. And I think that's probably worth a different video at this point. But again, going back to Destined Rivals, do you buy at 280? I'm not going to tell you yes or no. I think if you buy at 280, you just have to be okay with that price dropping should we get a supply hit the market. But then the question is Destined Rivals strong enough to absorb that? Traditionally, with the reprints we've seen in the last 8 months with the Pokemon Company,
yes, the market's been able to absorb that. And then that sends, it almost sends a signal to the market that, hey, that reprint has passed. The market did not tank, and kind of gives the okay for that product to leg up in terms of price again. So just something, again, I don't want to tell you, this is not a channel. We're not going to tell you, buy this at this price, buy it no matter what. No, no, no. We want you to stop and think about, before you spend $300 on a product that you hope appreciates in the future, it's your hard-earned money. Think about these things. Think about those potential future states. Do you like the product? And that brings us to the end of our yet another midweek market update. I hope your week is going well. Please, if you have any comments on the video, any feedback, positive or otherwise, feel free to leave a comment in the comments section below. We would love your subscription. We would love for you to turn notifications on. We would love a like if you can. And with that, we were going to see you on the next one. PokeMarketLab out.